Welcome, folks. Happy Wednesday. So excited to have you here. In case this is your first Q&A with us, this is our time to just all come together to learn a little bit more about Keeper, to feel comfortable, to get to explore either new features that we haven't played with or had any exposure to, or to dive into questions and kind of troubleshoot if you're coming across something and you're not quite sure how to navigate it. So today we will start with a feature, a little bit of a deep dive on the receipts feature. So everybody's been kind of having a little bit of buzz about that. So we'll just give a big broad overview of what this is, how to use it, kind of a little bit of an intro. And then from there, we'll be open for any other questions. So we'll take questions from the chat after after we finish with that kind of deep dive topic. But this is at your own pace. So we want to match everybody here. If you are newer to Keeper, if there's something that we mentioned that we go really fast on, please feel free to slow us down, stop the bus, ask questions. If you're like, wait, what is this? I didn't even know this is a thing. Please ask us to stop. We get really excited and might be going a little bit fast, but happy to accommodate and to make sure that everybody gets something out of this call. So feel free to pop questions into the chat as we go along. We'll kind of chug through them. But with that, let's go ahead and get into receipts. All right, so today we're going to dive a little bit into kind of opening the can of worms and figuring out what's all the hype about this. How do we actually upload documents both from ourselves and from our clients? How does that work? And then how do we actually process and post these, as well as how to get started with receipts if after all of this you want to explore it for yourself. All right, and the beauty of receipts is kind of twofold. So one, it's really cool to be able to have something like we had in QuickBooks where we can create a forwarding receipt or a forwarding email that clients can send documents to or text them in. But it's also really cool that there's a built-in processor that can scan through those receipts and actually make suggestions. And we can also pair it with kind of rules for the vendor for how it's going to be set up and stuff like that to make this easier on ourselves. And then anything that we do here, there's a little bit of a waiting area where we can process through, but once we're done, we can actually pass them over to QBO. Now, like this mentions, Xero support is coming in the future. That is something they're actively building out. So this is a QBO only feature, but there's a lot of really cool things and opportunities built in with this receipts feature that not only opens receipts, but a little bit of a tangential that we can now have any document really sent this way as well.
Exactly. So how can clients send us receipts? If we have the Keeper receipts turned on, then they can still upload via the portal. But now they can also forward emails. They could also text it to you. And unlike QBO, anyone that has access to that forwarding email or the practice phone number can send in documents. So if you're not familiar with the receipts feature in QuickBooks, you have to be an approved email to be able to send or forward emails to that QuickBooks account. Here, you don't need that. Anybody with that forwarding email address can use it to send in documents, and they don't have to be listed as a client contact in the client portal. Because we know those client contacts are typically the ones that receive all of our automated reminder emails. So if you don't want people to get those, maybe it's other contractors, that kind of thing, they can still forward receipts without having to be looped into all of that other automated communication. We also have a space to add files ourselves manually. When the files come in, they live in our uploads inbox here. When you have the Keeper receipts turned on, you have the option to scan that file. That's where the AI is going to pull the information that it can from it and help you get that processing started. There's also a feature up here where you can turn on the automated scans. So this means that instead of it being held here for you, it would automatically process it and push it down to the transactions for further review. From this
One
area, though,
caveat to make
go ahead.
there really quickly is with auto scan, that doesn't mean that it's going to automatically post to QBO.
Mm-mm.
There's still a process in there that we can review. So just want to make sure that that's not a caution that's coming up. This is to kind of make those suggestions for you. But again, it's not going to push over until after you've processed it. So don't worry about that with the auto scan feature.
Excellent point to highlight there. Um, I'm going to jump into the demo after we kind of do this general overview. But from this section here, you can click to preview this before you scan it. So that's one key thing. You'll also see like who is it uploaded by. So here I was put in as a contact, but then we emailed from info@, which wasn't listed as a contact. So this is how it came through. So you can see like contact versus non-contact, what it would look like. It always tells you who posted it. Once we've scanned that file and it gets pushed down towards our transactions, we can open that up and we can review the file further. Here we can enter in all of the descriptive information that we need, verify data. You can break this up into multiple line items if you need to split transactions. You can put it in as an expense if it's a receipt. You also have the bill feature here. And I honestly haven't looked at that one yet today or earlier, but we'll explore it together. From here, you can post the transaction. You can also just automatically go to the next one as well. And real quick to touch base here, if it finds a match, so if already something has been processed through the bank feed, categorized somewhere in the system, if Keeper recognizes it, it will have a similar transactions, find the match, or it'll highlight that it's found a match, and you can click on that to link those two together. So that attaches that receipt to that transaction. Otherwise, you can post it. And it's similar to other systems like Dext and those kinds of things where it's out there. So now when you're going through the bank feed, it'll recognize, oh, hey, there's a transaction already here to match. So both directions here, you can match it in the bank feed once it's been processed here, or if it's already processed through the bank feed, you can then match it on this side in Keeper. Also similar to bank rules and QuickBooks, we can set up vendor rules within our receipts. So just to set up rules from scratch, you can click the button to set up rule, and then you just kind of fill in, follow the prompts to set up the parameters that you would like. If you're processing a receipt and you're like, you know what, I get this receipt every month, it's going to be processed exactly the same way. Let me go ahead and set up a rule. You'll have that option as well. Right here, you click on vendor rules and it'll pop up with this screen here. So you can verify, yep, that's exactly what I want to happen with things that come in that look like this. And then you can click to create the rule. And again, it'll kind of populate to show this was processed by a rule, verify it, and then you can proceed to the next one. So if this is of interest to you and you're wondering, okay, I kind of want to do this, how do I go about enabling it? This is where you'll find it. You're going to go to your practice settings. That's that little cog up in the right-hand corner. You're going to go to all client settings. And then you're going to look for that Keeper Receipts column. It's right next to your client name. By default, it's going to be disabled. You have to click on the button to enable it. It says up to 1,000 scans. And it will have a dollar amount that it is per month. Right now, I believe it's still within beta, so it might be $5 a month extra. So that's on top of what you're already paying for clients that are connected. So it's just a little added there to get access to that feature. From here, you can click on the button to enable that forwarding email address. Type it in here, and that's what you'll be giving out to your clients. So when all is said and done, this is what your screen will look like to show you there's the forwarding addresses for the clients that have it enabled. Now, with Keeper Receipts, the default is email only. If you want them to be able to text you, you have to have that practice phone number enabled. And to do that, again, it's within practice settings, but it's underneath the client portal under branding. And there you click on practice phone number and then choose your number. When it comes to the practice phone number, you cannot enter in your own. So this would be a separate phone number specific to Keeper. This is the phone number where those automated text reminders come if you have those enabled, but then this is the number that they can text for that receipt as well.
And Jody, let's pause there for a couple of pieces that were kind of mentioned as well. So this actually is a good question. Are these for only connected clients? So if we want to push it to QBO, obviously there does need to be that connection, right? We have to have them connected. But I'm curious if you have played with, is receipts possible if you don't have any connected client, or if you're not using it on a connected client?
Yeah. I have not looked that up specifically, but we'll get that answer by the time we're done today.
Cool. I'll add that to our list to kind of
I'm
play
sorry.
around
No,
with,
I
because
do
that
know
is
that
interesting.
answer. I do know that answer. I just
Yeah,
remembered.
go ahead.
It does. It has to be connected. If it's
Okay.
not connected, then when you're here, this will say, please connect your client.
Oh, okay.
So you won't
Beautiful.
even have the
Okay.
option to do the drop down to select it. So yes, this is
Beautiful.
only for those connected clients.
Perfect. And then Shayna made a really great point. So Shayna's from the customer success at Keeper, and mentioned if you don't see this as if you're going through and looking in all the right spots, but it's not here, email in that support line or go to the bottom of your screen, that little purple question mark, to ask them to enable that feature. And then you'll be able to choose client by client which receipt or which ones you'd like to use receipts with.
Okay. Sharing these instructions with your clients, you can always add this to that resources tab within the client portal, so they know exactly how they can submit those receipts to you. You could also have it as part of an automated email template, or you can add that personalized forwarding email address to an email before you send it as well. We're putting in a feature request for the forwarding email address to be a merge tag that you can pop in here. It's not available yet. We're going to put that feature request in, and hopefully we can get that added in so that you can make it part of an automated process, but still kind of have it personalized for each client.
Yeah, so a couple of good ways, especially if you're going to, when we're transitioning, there's always going to be questions about what's that email address again? I can't remember the text number, those kind of pieces. So thinking about where you can integrate this into your process, either in those automated emails as a PS at the very bottom, or into like the resources center, anything like that might be helpful to help build that habit gap for clients as they're trying to kind of get up, remember to how to use these features and those sorts of things. Taj asked a really great question. So
yes.
The phone number, it's all the same practice number if you're going to text in a receipt, but clarify for us, Jody, is it that the email forwarding is specific to each client? Is that correct?
Yes. So how does Keeper know which one of your clients has sent the receipt in? So yes, that email forward, that's pretty simple. It's custom for that individual client. So of course that one will go, but the phone number does get a little bit interesting. So if they are listed in your contacts for that client and their phone number is listed in there as well, it'll recognize the phone number and say, okay, it goes to this client because that's where that client contact is. Otherwise, on your main client list, you'll see a banner at the top that says receipts received from unknown thing. It'll prompt you to review it and assign it to a client. So that also can come in handy if you've got clients who have multiple businesses within your firm. So they have multiple accounts in there. You'd be able to review it and assign it to them as well.
Beautiful. Thanks for filling in the gaps there. I know some
Yeah.
of this is, hey, overview of the feature. How does it even work? But part of this is the practical questions about, okay, what does this look like in my actual clients themselves? Um, so one thing I also wanted to mention, this is a little bit of a space for us to be creative. So yes, absolutely can do receipts, does auto scan. It's built for this, but we have seen people in the community get a little bit creative for this. If you have a client that, man, we have tried getting them into the portal. They will not go look at their questions. We're working on that habit, but we still need some way to send receipts, and they're used to that function inside of QBO. So we'll give them an email, right? This is something that we can use for clients if we're having a hard time with compliance or trying to kind of migrate and get something in the middle as we're trying to build that ideal habit. But this is a really great place for you to get creative. The only thing that we want to make sure and mention here is be mindful.
All right. Erica's internet is cutting out a
Those
little
did
bit
over.
for us. That's okay. Um, let's highlight that when we're in the demo. I know where you're going with being mindful of where information is coming and how that links together within Keeper. But before we do that, we'll do that on the demo so you guys can have a visual with that as well. But until then, does anybody have any specific questions about Keeper receipts before we jump into the demo? Kate, I may need you to clarify a little bit more. She asked if you have the links, phone number, and email, can you use your email program to personalize your messages to clients? I may need you to go into a little bit more detail about what you're asking there, which email
Yeah, I do
program.
have
And,
a little bit. So if you're trying to
okay.
personalize those inside of Keeper, we do have like merge tags or the variables that can pull in their URL to go straight to the client portal. And that phone number, that practice number is static so that we could add in and those would be fine for all emails. Right now, there's not the ability to drop in their email, that specific email that you've set up for receipt forwarding for that client. So that's one that we'll make a request on and I'll put in the video description when we release the recording, so that anybody that wants that to be able to personalize that and pull that into your emails to customize will have that option. So partially, yes, one of those is a feature request.
Okay. Were there any others that you saw, Erica, that we want to address before we jump into the demo?
Nope, I
Just gonna
don't
do a
think so.
quick
I think we're
scan.
good.
Okay, no hands raised. All right. Feel free, everybody, if you want to click on that little button to raise your hand within Zoom as well. If you want to come off of mute and ask questions, you're welcome to do that as well. Okay, let's jump into the demo real quick and kind of give you a visual on where all of these things live. So right here, the client uploads, that's what's going to tell you what you have when it comes to your receipts. You can see I have 3 uploads, 2 transactions. That means that some of those uploads have already been scanned and moved down. So we'll click this open, and this is the screen that you're going to get. You've got a holding place up here at the top where you can then manually click to scan the file, or you can turn this on so that as it comes in, it'll scan it for you. But what I like here too is that you can preview this as needed to say, okay, what was this for? Client list. What did I ask my client for? Oh, that's right. I asked them for something that wasn't a receipt. It wasn't a bill or anything like that. So I'm not actually going to push this down to my transactions. I can preview it to see, okay, yep, that's exactly what I wanted it to be. And then I can move it to where I need it to go. So if it's for example, that bank statement, they sent it through this portal. You can come in here and move it to whatever folder or task line that you want it to go to. You can move it out of there. Otherwise, you can click that scan file and it'll process through the system and then populate down here. And then we'll kind of walk through what that looks like. So I'll just go ahead and jump in. It takes a minute for that to go through. You can also select multiples and scan them all at once. Or there's a hot button up here to scan all if you know for sure you want all of them scanned and pushed down. Once it's scanned, we'll come in here and we can preview that document that they sent us. If it's a bill, we can tab over, fill in the information there. And this is what it is for other. So for other types, vendor credits, credit card credits, that kind of thing would be what you'd see underneath the other category over here. And then similar to a lot of other processors, you just enter in the information that you need. It's prompting me, do I want to create a rule for this? But then I can also just post and review the next one. We'll let that process. And then you can continue on to do the same thing. Again, it'll prompt you about the rules. If your client has sent in a comment or a note or something like that, which they can do through the emails and through texting, it would show up right here up in this notes area. And you can see, okay, this was just forwarded. There's nothing additional here. I have seen where a client might say, oh, this receipt is for a team dinner that we had. Or I did a coffee chat with a specific customer or something like that. Your clients can add in those details here that would then help you to fill in the rest of the information that you need to gather from them anyways. I've also seen where clients who are very hands-on in how things are categorized will even say, categorize this to such and such an account. So lots of ways that they can use those notes there. If you're looking at this and you're not sure what's going on, you can always ask your client a question and get that added to the portal. And you can still move it from here as well if you don't want to post it. You can see posted transactions here. So all of these have been processed and they've been posted. We can see those. You're still going to see the similarities. You know, it has a lot of the functioning that you do have in other spaces here in Keeper. So again, that's a quick overview. Any additional bits you want me to dive into deeper, Erica?
The only thing I can think of that we want to make sure to include kind of in this receipt section is what happens if you have, let's say, a recurring question for someone to upload a bank statement and they do it through the receipts. Just want to walk people through that piece because that can sometimes get a little bit tricky.
Yes, great point. And this is what we were starting to get at previously, is you have to be very mindful. If you've asked your clients in a transaction question or a non-transaction question, you've got them here, but your client uploads it through the receipts or through the main upload on their dashboard in the client portal, then that feeds it into here. Keeper is not going to automatically connect those. So if you see like, okay, I asked in a non-transaction question for a bank statement, the bank statement came through here, I can move it to where I need it to go. And then I can pop over and I can make sure that that question gets marked as resolved so that my client doesn't keep getting notifications for it. Same thing for your transactions here. So just keep in mind that they're not going to be automatically synced here. You got to make sure that you
those aren't linked. The
own.
questions are going to be separate from that. One client training that you can do for any really hands-on client is you can have them mark done or comment on that request if it comes through on their end. So just kind of tackle it however it makes sense. Either build into your process. Okay, if I get it from the receipts feature from that area, then I'll go mark off that question. or if anything slips through, just have them mark done or go in and mark it resolved yourself. So either side of that can resolve that question. But just keep in mind that that is there's no way for Keeper to read that that receipt was the answer to this question way over here. Beautiful. Jody, you had a couple questions from Amy about finding a receipt to a transaction in QuickBooks.
Okay, so if Keeper's not recognizing it. Honestly, I'm not sure I'm gonna have examples. This is our demo account, but let me see. So you can view similar. Yeah, it's not gonna pull it. I remember recording something about this, so we might find that and send it out with the.
Oh, Shayna just popped in. Thanks, Shayna.
Thanks,
So
Shayna.
first thing to check is if you're in the correct close page. So number one
Yes.
reason why transactions are missing in Keeper is they're just outside of the range of that close. Thanks a ton, Shayna, for that. So I would say double check that, go back or forward a close or two just to make sure. And then any other questions that Keeper support team is going to be here to answer in case there is a, hey, go refresh QuickBooks. They're going to have the best tips and tricks on a specific transaction and make sure that you kind of have a list to troubleshoot past that close. So thanks, Sheena.
The other thing that I've seen is I had to help a client troubleshoot this one time before, was that we saw the receipt down here and like, we know for certain there's a match inside QuickBooks. And it took us the better part of a day to figure out like, where's the disconnect here. And it happened to be that it was one of those credit cards that has multiple credit cards underneath it, and two different were selected. So the account that was selected here was one of the other sub accounts, and it didn't match the sub account that was in QuickBooks. So that once we corrected that, it found it immediately. Everything synced the way it needed to. So like Erica said, and Shayna said, double check your parameters that you're in, the close, make sure all the data matches.
I've also heard if there's like a duplicate vendor, so it's listed as the same name, but it's not linking up on the same vendor. So check those parameters. That's going to be the first place to go if anything's not matching, and then definitely go down the Keeper support route if there's something specific.
Yeah.
Great questions. Jody, do you know if there's any way to merge receipts at this time?
Not off the top of my head, to be honest.
There is. So you see those two tick boxes to the left of the uploaded column in the transaction files. To the left.
So just, yep, select those two, like you were bulk selecting them.
Oh. There you go.
And then over, yep, merge files.
Beautiful.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Greg. Really appreciate that. This is also a good note to mention about bulk actions. So this is becoming more and more common throughout Keeper, but anywhere you see being able to select multiple transactions or items or tasks, play around in there once or twice to see what you can do, because this would be a really easy way if you're trying to build up that efficiency to go in and, oh, these two vendors need to be filled in, these two pieces, like to do multiple of those actions. So really great kind of plug for those bulk actions, because there's becoming more and more within Keep.
Excellent. I love when our community comes together to answer questions. Well, from here, let's open it up. What other Keeper questions do you guys have? What other areas do you want to see, or do you have questions that you need help troubleshooting? The floor is open.
So I have a question.
Sure.
On the reporting tab, when we go to publish the report, we have that new item that says create and publish a custom report. It just was brought to my attention that it's an either or situation. Is that correct? Is there any way that we can add a custom report and a financial report?
Let me let it load. I think you just have to do it in two separate things, I would believe. That's how I would
did it in
approach
two
it.
separate things, and
And it didn't
it's
let you?
either or, yeah.
Mm,
So that's a future feature, Greg. That's something that we all really want. I know it seems silly, but right now it's just that if you do your management reporting outside of Keeper, you can come in here and publish your outside report for that month's month-end close so that it appears in the main like dashboard of the client portal where you have all your financials. But if you're trying to do more than one for 1 month, you'll have to just upload it in your files area of Keeper and make it visible to the client. So you could do as many as you want there. You could have hundreds of different reports, but you're actually spot on right here when you're uploading from this section of Keeper. For whatever reason, right now, it only allows one per month, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that
Thanks,
was
Gina.
the dilemma that I ran into. It would almost be better if we could just add it as a custom report inside of your financial report package.
Yeah,
Right there, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
That's
I'm pretty
definitely,
sure that's a Canny request too.
yeah, definitely. It's a big one.
Yep, I'll post that in the description so anybody can go upload that. Thanks for clarifying that, Shayna. And for
Yes.
that's a really good mention that as a workaround may not be perfect, but in the meantime can go in and upload a file and just make sure that it's visible so that it shows up kind of in that section with all of those monthly reports. So great mention there, Shayna. Anybody else feel free to post any questions in that chat box. But Jody, do you mind walking us through, we found a new to us, but not a new feature by any means. Can you talk us through the Gmail extension?
Okay. I don't know that I can show that, Erica.
Oh, I can. Okay.
Do you have, okay, why don't you share? Because I don't have that open right now. Let me stop sharing and let you do it. Bear with us. Erica, while you're getting set up, Dana asked if you're doing a cleanup, how far back can you go? Can you close, and how can you make that happen? So one of the number one ways that we've seen people tackling cleanups is to go with December of that cleanup year, and then you can do things for the whole 12 months. But yeah, you can also just open as many closed pages as you want too. So if you want one for every single month, then you can do that. Hope that answered your question.
Well, so I guess I'm not seeing where you can, because I'm super new to this.
Okay.
Where you actually have it open,
Oh, how you
have all
open
those
a previous
pages.
close?
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm
Feel
not
free,
seeing on
Jody.
my
It's gonna
screen a
take me
lot
a
of the
second.
stuff y'all are showing on yours. So I don't know if I've got something set up wrong or what.
Nope. Let me show you. While Erica's getting set. Okay, so when you are on your client list and you click that down arrow to see previous closes, you can come here to create previous closes. So that button will populate. And then you can start selecting what year you want to. So right now it's going back to 2010. And then you can select, do you want every single month, or do you just want to do December, which will then show you the previous 12 months as well, for the date ranges. Does that help answer, Dana?
I'm not sure. I was trying to look at both at the same time. So
Okay, I can slow
when
down.
I've got the client on there,
So you're on your client list,
yes,
and then you've got
and
the
there,
little down arrow to see previous closes.
okay.
So that drops it down so you can
Okay.
see all the previous closes that you
I'll
have for
see
that
where we
particular
are.
client.
Okay.
Yep. And then click previous closes there, and it will allow you to select the year and then what month or months you want to do. So you
Okay.
can
I'm with it
select
now.
all and open all of them at one time if you really wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you can just select whatever year it is that you need. And you can see here that I've gone several years, and the more I select, it'll show you how many you've selected up here, which means I would
Okay.
be adding a
Yeah.
lot to it. So I'm just going to cancel that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's where you would go for those cleanups, especially ones that go far back.
Okay. That's super helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Jody, you actually have a tangential question from
Yeah.
Eileen. And I've heard this one a lot in the community. Do you recommend one close per month of the cleanup, just going back to December, doing it in quarters? I've seen a mix of all three.
Yeah.
What's your personal
Yes.
take on that?
Same here. I've seen a mix of all three. I truly think it comes down to personal preference and how you like to tackle data. Some people like to do it month by month so that they can say, okay, everything for January is tip top, clean, ready to go. And then in QuickBooks, they even close that so they can't make any changes to January. Then they move on to February. So it all has to do with like what's your comfort level. Some people like to tackle, okay, I'm going to look at the entire year and I want to see all these transactions for this one vendor. Or I want to review everything that's uncategorized for the whole year and go through the reports that way. So it really truly comes down to personal preference and how you like to tackle that information. I'm going to open up
I also
December
think,
as a
yeah, while
sample.
you're opening this up, I would also say part of it does have to do with volume.
Yes.
So if it is an incredibly high volume, there's enough that we do need to do it month by month, then absolutely go with it. There has been a lot of mention about doing kind of 3-month periods as well if it's tackleable by volume, because that gives you a good kind of metric that you can do a good amount of chunking. There's very similar transactions in there that we can do bulk actions for. But again, you can go up or down from there. I have seen that kind of be the North Star of try this. And then if there's too much volume, go down to month by month. If we have
Yep.
more room, then maybe that's when we go semi-annually or just open one for the entire year.
Yeah, that is an excellent point about the volume. So really what we always encourage people to do is path of least resistance. If something is overwhelming, you're going to be resistant to doing it. You're going to be like, you're going to put it off. I don't want to tackle that. It's too big. I don't like it. Chunk it down. So if a year at a time is too much, do a quarter. And the reason we were saying open December and then you can see the whole 12 months is because when you're on these reports and you click the date drop down, change your parameters, it'll show you what's available here. So you can see that this would be the whole year, January to December. But again, like Erica said, if the volume's too much or if you find anything overwhelming, then start paring it down. But it really does come down to personal preference.
Hey, Jody, this is Amy. Can I show you my cool move feature with the receipts?
Sure.
So if you go back to receipts, I'll show you. I found this
Okay.
totally by accident, and it's the
I love finding things by accident.
Okay, so
Alright.
click on the 3 little dots.
Which one?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Click move file to. Go to transactions. Click it.
I did. It's taking a second.
Yes, it'll take a while.
When
You
I have
can-
Zoom open, it doesn't like to
Yeah,
process
right.
things.
You can then search by vendor, and it will narrow
Thank you.
down the receipts by that vendor. And then you click the little purple box on the far right-hand side and you can upload the receipt. So it
Yes,
doesn't matter
yes.
if you're in the wrong close. If you can remember the vendor and you know the amount, you can do whatever you want. It'll find it for you.
Great point. Thanks for sharing
Beautiful.
that.
What a great workaround. That's awesome. And this opens
Yeah.
up, there's becoming more and more ability to do some of these searches or filtering by vendors or anything like that. So sometimes we'll go through a report and have a really rough description or something in there that can kind of pull from. So look around anywhere you see those searches are becoming more and more of a really key asset here within any of the reports that we're doing.
So while we're highlighting that, I'll show a similar thing that I discovered the other day, again, helping somebody troubleshoot. We were looking to take a statement and assign it to that. Oh, hold on a second. I can't think and click today. We were trying to assign it to the closing task, to the account reconciliation. And we came here and we're like, I can't find it. So we went back and said, oh, I know why. It's because it was already marked done. And the default here is to show not completed. So as soon as we said, okay, let's select all and see everything, the account showed up again and they were able to move it where they needed to go. So if you are looking for things and you're not seeing it, double check some of these filters because some of them are set to default a certain way.
Great mention, Jody. Claire had a wonderful question. So right now we are only able to use one tag per task. So Jody, can you go out to the non-closing section for us? So tags are available within the non-closing section of a client, any of these, or non-closing area, any section within this, or in our firm tasks as well. So right now we are only able to use one per. You can customize them by clicking the little 3 dots next to your list of tags. And one workaround that we've seen, if you're having a hard time because we can only use one, is you can, if you're trying to filter down and see all of our payroll tasks or something like that, but you have those tagged as weekly or bi-weekly, like you're using the frequency as your tag, then you can always move it to a new section. So I can move it to a payroll section and pull anything in that section regardless of the tag, vice versa. So that's a way to kind of play around with some of those limitations. But while we're here, a couple of really cool ideas that I've seen around tags are by area of the business or service, right? So if that's onboarding, offboarding, anything like that, we can do it as a, we can also use these for priority. So we have priority stars here within Keeper that you can star anything that you'd like, but sometimes we have something that's like a back burner task that's not super important for right now. Or if we have like high, medium, or low, we can use those. And just to back up just a hair, a tag is something we can attach to a task here inside of Keeper to be able to filter down or kind of limit the amount of info that we see.
And these are only available in the non-closing area. You'll see down below in the closing area, tags are not an option here. So this is a key feature for non-closing tasks as a way to pare them down and help zero in your focus for just what you need to see in the moment. And you can click on that tag to limit or filter what you're seeing. Then when you're ready to see all of them, click on that all and they'll come back to you. Just these are extra tools to help limit that visual overwhelm. A system like Keeper can hold so much information and you can use it in so many different ways that learning these little tips and tricks here help to reduce the visual overwhelm and allows our brain more space to process and go through the work that we have each day.
Jody, I think to bounce off of that just a hair, you mentioned how you can filter that down by just clicking, hey, what are my weekly tasks right now inside of this view? Let's also quickly show in our task view how we can filter by tag.
Yeah, meant to use, not used to the new feature of navigating to other tags or tabs.
I know, it's beautiful.
I love
If
it.
anybody hasn't noticed that, you can use the drop down now where that home icon is, and you can choose to go to the templates or something else. I still fumble around.
I'm going to go back
but
and
it's
show
very
you.
cool.
I'm going to go back and show it because I love it. I'm still getting used to it. All right, so when you're inside a client, so this is only from your client page. We used to only have that home button, which would take us back to the client list. But now we've got a drop down and we can go to any one of these. Before I go to the task, no, I'll go to tasks first. I don't want to get too in the weeds. I get overexcited. Did you guys just see that? I get really excited about different things in Keeper and I can go down all sorts of rabbit holes. Okay, so from here, from your tasks list, tags is a column, which means that we can filter by that here as well. So if let's see, what do we have? I know we have weekly ones. Okay, nice. Okay, to that, it's going to filter down to just show me anything that has that weekly tag. And then to bounce off of that, you can save that view. So next time you come in, you can easily grab that saved view and see just what you want to see. So anything that has these filters, you can do that with. But yes, tags can be filtered here well across all clients.
And I think my favorite use of this, and this could go if you're doing it by section or tag, is to do payroll, because Lord help me, I know I need to do payroll. It's Friday, but I can't remember which clients fall on this Friday. So for me, payroll view, filter by tag, and then do the due date as due today if you're looking at just what payroll is due. And then we can save that view. So my little brain can remember what payroll for which clients is actually due today. So really great example there. I've also seen if you're onboarding a few people at the same time using that onboarding tag and just creating this list of what do I need to do to get caught up on onboarding. And then we can actually work off of this task list now where I can just click into that, see any checklists that I want to check off that task and move down the list as well.
Any other questions right now? I know we're about at time, but if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to show what I was getting excited about. Okay. So if you haven't played around in here yet either, you can click to go straight to that close. Another awesome thing that we have options of here in this view is you can now click on that task. It opens up. You can edit anything on here and then exit out and move on to another one. So if you're updating something across all clients, you can filter and search just for that task. You can come in and make those edits. From this screen, you will see like who's working on that. So your preparer, manager, reviewer, all of those will be here so that you can see that as well. And then of course you can go directly to that close. And then what I was almost went down the rabbit hole of, and I promise I'll keep it short today. But from here, I'm inside my client. From here, I can click on templates. I can select a template that I want to add to this client, and I can find that client and add it to them. Apply. Okay.
Man, that's beautiful. That's a lot less clicks. That's wonderful.
Yes, it is.
Great mention there.
And then usually it updates automatically, but I think because I'm on Zoom and
too many things going.
Yeah, I'm doing too many things at one time. It gets a little.
I don't think you were expanded.
There we go. Oh, no. Oh, I didn't click save. So let's do it again.
I think your client details section isn't expanded.
Well, the client details is not one that the templates can drop into. So it's a really good question. I think this one was just we didn't hit save.
Oh, it's
That
'cause
is a
I'm in
new
a different
feature
account.
request as well.
Helps if you're in the right account when you're doing it. See, I have happy fingers going too fast. There we go. See, it automatically updates, refreshes, and then there's my template. And I didn't have to go back out to the client list, to the templates page,
Back.
then back into the client list, back to the client. So I love this feature.
Great mention, Jody. Great mention. So, a couple of quick questions as we're wrapping up. So, Eileen, I'm happy to break this down a touch more and kind of dig into it. But having a client, like an unconnected client, where you do admin tasks versus using firm tasks is purely a preference thing. Some people use firm tasks, and that's at least where we start. A lot of people, if you're just trying to keep track of other tasks outside of your client work, like what do we need to do on Keeper or a specific or outside tasks. Now, between this area is viewable by all users. So
Yeah.
for most things, that's not a big deal. But if you have a reminder about doing your own team's payroll or looking into how to fire somebody, that's probably not something that I want to put in my firm task. That might be an area where I create an admin task for that. Just is a visibility thing. That's the only real big difference there.
And with that, just remember manage users. So anybody that has admin access will have access to all. So though you will be limiting who can access this as a way to keep firm tasks, anybody with that admin access will be able to get into this and see it as well. But all of your standard users would not have access unless you specifically give it to them.
Yep, exactly. And then another quick one by Angela. Great question. So do you put due dates in the templates or do you wait to put dates when you apply to the client? So Jody, I'll let you tackle this one since you're a pro at templates.
Yeah. It really depends on what you were adding. So for some of these, if you're like, okay, I do the exact same thing for every client on Fridays, and I want to set that as a recurring Friday date, you can absolutely do that here in your template. And then when you drop it into your clients, the dates automatically are there as well. If you do things on different days of the week for different clients, then you have two options. You can just update it when you go back into that client. You can add it to the template, drop it into that client, change it in the template, drop it into the other clients. Like you can do that as well. You can change this and then redrop it as much as you want. You can also go to that tasks page and filter and sort and be able to add due dates a little bit faster that way as well. And within a client, there's ways to bulk add dates as well. So it really depends on what you're doing and how frequently you do it. Let me get into one of the close sections.
Yeah, I was going to say the biggest example I have is for like 1099s. If your process always starts in November, so
Yes.
anytime you drop that template, you
Where's
want
that
it to
one?
start
Here it
on
is.
November
I do
10th
have
and
dates.
recur annually. So that would be a really great example where the template dropping in those dates for any client you use this template with is going to be awesome. Past that, it's going to be a little bit of personal preference. The ideal here is to make the least amount of clicks. So it just kind of depends what's going to save you clicks and how many clients that's going to help you with. So if I'm rolling out something that, again, every single task is going to be due on the 10th for these 3 clients, then sure, put it in the template and save yourself some clicks there.
One thing I want you to keep in mind, especially for those that are recurring tasks, we do not have a feature to remove recurring tasks yet. It has been requested.
Remove the due dates.
That's what I mean. Yes, sorry. Remove the due date.
All good.
So here's an example. I'm adding this task in. I have a recurring date. I can change this recurring date, but I can't remove it. So I can change how frequently it recurs, any of this information, and I can update that, but there is no way to actually remove that So that is one thing to keep in mind until that feature comes to fruition. You may decide that you don't want to add recurring dates to your templates, because what ends up happening is you have to recreate that task altogether to be able to reset to a single date or to remove the date altogether.
Yeah.
I know we
So
are
just keep
down to
that
the wire.
little bit of a feature. Yep, exactly. So just keep that in mind. Again, saving yourself a few clicks or frustration down the road. But again, there's a lot of this that can be done in bulk. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great question. So with
saw
that,
one
we are
last
right up
question.
against the wire. Oh yeah, if you saw one, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. So somebody asked on how I added the checklists to my tasks.
Oh,
And
great.
it's you enter in the task. So right here, you add in your task, you can add in a description, and then right below that is where you can add checklists. So you can add multiple checklists. Checklists can have multiple subtasks underneath it. You can move the subtasks, you can move your checklists around. So lots of options here for how you can write out SOPs or provide additional details. One thing to keep in mind here is that checklists and subtasks do not get their own assignee or their own due date. Everything is driven by that main task at the top here. And then this is just supporting. All right.
Exactly. And with that, we do have one more tiny question that's related. So in case anybody else is wondering the same thing, we do have templates, any of these actually, for sale if you want to save yourself a little bit of time in the process of writing out your SOPs, creating good processes. Feel free to email us if you'd like to explore any of these in further detail. But with that, that is this month's Q&A as a wrap. So thank you guys for taking the time for your business. It's always exciting for us to get to troubleshoot, but honestly, I'm just proud of you for taking the time and setting it aside to learn and get a little bit more comfortable with Keeper. So our next one is coming up June 19th. And last piece that I always want to share is if you are overwhelmed, you got a couple ideas that your mind is just spinning on, go ahead and choose one, tackle it, implement it. You can always come back. But sometimes we get caught on, oh, I don't know which idea to start with. And I have 4 that I wrote down because these are all so cool. Honestly, just take one at a time. Feel free to message us with any questions or go back to this recording. I'll send it out to anybody afterward. So you can go back if we went a little bit too fast.
Yeah. And if you are looking for some additional resources, we do have a Keeper page. So hughesandstrong.com/keeper. And there's a lot of resources out there that we've posted for free for you guys as well. Thank you so much for taking the time with us today. We appreciate you. Have a great rest of your week.